Hello and welcome to a Therapeutic Hour. I'm your host, Michelle Overton. Whether you're here because it feels dark, you feel stuck, or you simply want to understand yourself better, you're in the right place. With over 400 types of therapy out there, it's no wonder it's hard to know where to begin. Join me and my guests as we demystify therapy and support you to self-heal. So settle in, relax, and let's begin your journey inwards together. This is a Therapeutic Hour. Today I've invited a wonderful yoga teacher to be with us. Gavin specialises in a type of yoga practice that I found to be incredibly healing, Yin Yoga. Gavin's journey into yoga began with a spark ignited by none other than Madonna back in the late 90s. Since then, he's become a qualified teacher, blending ancient wisdom with modern practices. It was Gavin's teaching style that really caught my attention and compelled me to invite him onto the show. So let's dive right in and welcome Gavin as he shares the healing power and wisdom of Yin Yoga with us all. Oh, welcome, Gavin. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with me today. I thought it'd be so helpful for our listeners to learn more about Yin Yoga, and I had the pleasure of experiencing one of your classes about 4 weeks ago, and I was blown away by your teaching style and how you really related the moves to the parts of the body, to the anatomy. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all about Yin Yoga.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Thank you. And thank you for asking me to come on your podcast and be part of this and share what I know with you and your viewers. So thank you for that.
Hey, lovely. Brilliant. So I was thinking, would you like to just share a little bit about your own journey, about how you became a Yin Yoga therapist?
Yeah, I will definitely do that. So I started at a really nice time in the late 90s, and I didn't know anything about yoga. And I was a big Madonna fan, still a Madonna fan. And she did like Ray of Light video, that kind of thing. And no, Ray of Light album actually it was. And it was at that time she was practicing yoga. And I was like, what's yoga? And that led me really, it was her that led me to my first class. And I went to my first class and didn't love it. It was hard. Like it was like vinyasa yoga. It was flowing. It was hot. It was sweaty. I was uncomfortable. I was tight in my hips, my lower back. And I can't say I enjoyed my first class. It wasn't really enjoyable. But I went back. And after a few classes, I started to notice improvements in my body. I felt better within myself. And then the best way to describe it is, when someone gives you a hug, and that hug just stayed with me, like I couldn't stop practicing. So then it became a regular practice for me. And I've been practicing probably for like over 25 years now. I've been practicing. I think I started to really dive a little bit deeper and go into the teaching side of things. We all have different things happen to us in our lives. And for me, I split up with my partner and yoga was my therapy. So, I started to go to yoga a bit more at that time and, yoga saved me, I think for me and, a lot of people, we go for different reasons to practice. One of the reasons I go to practice is for my physical body, for my physical. And the other reason I hit it's for my mind, to feel better mentally. And at that time, it really helped me through that difficult time. And then one day, my yoga teacher said to me, you should be a teacher. Why don't you consider being a teacher? And then I thought, oh, why not? That's something I love this practice. I would love to share it with people. I feel like I could do it. And then the yoga teaching journey began then.
Yeah, lovely. And what I really heard then was you described it as it feeling really like you'd had a hug. And that's the nurturing part, isn't it? That's why it's called restorative yoga, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, there is restorative yoga where we use props, bolsters, etc., things like that. But all yoga is somewhat restoring. It is restoring. It helps us to unwind, relax, come back to ourselves. It helps us to really focus on ourselves. So, you know, I think all yogas are somewhat restoring.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you as well about, you said that you went to that first class. Had you chosen Yin Yoga, or was it more that actually you just stumbled upon that class?
No, no, no. It wasn't. It was Vinyasa yoga at the time. Yin yoga for me is it's been for the last about year and a half. I've been practicing and teaching Yin, so that's newer for me. It started with Vinyasa yoga, which is more of that flowing yoga, and that's what I have practiced up until that point. And then Yin has been in the last like year and a half for me.
Oh, right, brilliant. And that really leads into, because I know, so if I give you an example, I see lots of people talking about, especially with well-being at work. What I see from the memes is it doesn't seem as if people quite understand the scientific part of how yoga really works. And then I can see where they're saying, oh, companies should say, saying people should go to yoga, rather than taking responsibility for the workplace not being as healthy as it can be. And that's why I thought it's so important for people to understand that there are different styles that
Yes.
suit different things. And how you described it was, it actually saved you. And I've had a similar experience that I'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I think that leads into the different types. And so
Yes.
with Yin, you said that you've been practicing and teaching for about a year and a half. And so
Yeah.
where did Yin Yoga come from?
Okay. So Yin yoga it's an ancient practice. Yin yoga is, and it's a guy called Paul Grilly. And Paul Grilly has done so much work to promote and educate students and teachers around the world on this amazing practice. And it was actually one of his students called Sarah Powers in 2000. She coined the phrase Yin Yoga, and that's where the name came from, Yin Yoga.
Really
So
interesting.
yeah, that's kind of, and I am so lucky, like, because my teacher, Gillian Court, she knows Paul, she studied with Paul. So I get all of her knowledge, which comes directly from him to me. How amazing is that? I'm so lucky to have that.
Yeah, well, it feels like the universe aligned for you to meet
Yeah,
that teacher, doesn't it? It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Really,
Yeah.
feel really
So
lucky for that.
so why would it be why is so to me, out of all of the different yoga styles that I've practiced, I found Yin to be the most restorative for me.
Yeah.
And perhaps how you were describing with the bolsters and the cushions, that sometimes you can have it in a warm room. So could you talk through a little bit more then how it works? Why is it restorative?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just so we say no, restorative is always with bolsters and things like that. And when we come into the poses, and there's poses supporters, and then yin is different to the restorative. So often it gets a bit confusing. Restorative, I think, to me, yin yoga can and is restorative, and we can talk a little bit more about we'll talk a bit more about that as we go in, but we're restoring the body's flow of chi, that flow of energy. We're slowing down, we're coming back into ourselves, and we're engaging then that parasympathetic response. We're shifting into more of that relaxed, that state of being. And the different styles. What makes it different is if what the best way to describe it. That yin and yang symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always really want to be in the middle, the Tao bit, the balance, but we're not balanced. Often we're not. We're, one way or the other. Some people are a bit more slower, a bit more yin, and then others are fast, fast, fast. And I spend a lot of my life in that fast mode. We're always in that sympathetic state of get up in the morning, right, go, 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 go. All those things we've got to cram into our day. And look, these things are instant. And we adds anxiety and stress to our bodies because we feel like we need to be instant back, and that's like this other layer and stress to our lives. And if we think about the other styles of yoga, those styles of yoga are what we call more yang styles of yoga. They're a bit more active, slightly more dynamic, like hatha, vinyasa, ashtanga yoga, where we actively move our bodies through a sequence of postures, a bit slower, a bit faster, So we actively stretch, we actively strengthen, work on balance, we mobilize our bodies. Whereas Yin is that quieter, slower, floor-based practice that allows us to reconnect to ourselves and turn a little bit more inwardly and connect to the way that we feel. So if we perhaps a little bit more yang in our lives, then perhaps in comes yin. Or for some, if it's not yin, maybe it's a walk outside in the park. There's lots of different things that can be yin as well for us, but it's always about that balance. And for me, yin is just that perfect balance, because I can go from that busy, active day into my yin practice that slows me down, and it's just in the middle, the Tao again. It just balances things out.
Well, that makes perfect sense to me now, because I'm very much in that, or have been in that doing energy. So I can see now why there's a real pull for me to go into that other side of being. Yeah, thank you very much.
No, that's it. I think that's probably why you love it and enjoy it so much, perhaps with or without realizing, or now you realize, but you enjoy it because it slows you down and it brings that balance into your life.
Yeah. And I remember my first class. So what happened to me was my friend, who's a clinical psychologist, had been telling me to go to yoga whilst my youngest son, was on a liver transplant list. And to be honest, at the time, I kept thinking to myself, oh, I don't think that's going to help at all. But she kept persevering, and she kept saying to me she should go, and even told me about where she'd been going. So I joined the class, and I couldn't believe just actually how grounded I felt. So I felt like I'd grown roots from my feet that had helped me to deal with the uncertainty of whilst we were waiting for the liver transplant. So that was my first experience of yoga. And then when I had my first Yin Yoga class, I sat there. When you said, oh, I didn't really enjoy my first session. Yeah. I sat there, and I can remember sitting there, because you hold the pose, don't you, for 3 to 5 minutes. And my whole back was, it was really painful. And I sat there and I thought, I can't sit here for 3 to 5 minutes. And by the time I left that class, I had no aches or pains whatsoever. And I could not believe it.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. So for me, I think I didn't realize the tension and the stress that I was holding in my muscles and in my body. I think I'd got so used to holding my neck.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how is it working as well then? Does that take us into that question?
Yes, it absolutely does. So in Yin, we come into our poses slowly with the muscles of the body relaxed. So as opposed to the more Yang practices where we actively encourage, we pull ourselves into stretches or we move our bodies through sequences. In Yin, we are encouraged to come into the pose slowly with the muscles of the body relaxed. And we have a couple of focuses in Yin. We focus on what we're feeling muscularly. We focus on what we're feeling skeletally. So we have in Yin, there's 14 skeletal sections that are controlled by 10 muscle groups. And if we then feeling it in the muscles and in the skeletal sections, we're doing the pose. So we come in slowly, we detect that appropriate amount of tension in the muscles. And that's then that when we hold it for between 3 to 5 minutes, that we allow that tension in the muscles to soften. The muscles start to lengthen, but then we go deeper. We go deeper into the connective tissues of the body, the fascia, the connective tissues that just hold everything into place. Then housed within that connective tissue are believed to be your meridian channels. So housed within those channels is chi, is energy, and we are encouraging in Yin that healthy flow of chi in those meridian channels, which then run into the meridians which are housed within your internal organs. So it's that healthy flow of chi that we always want to encourage within the body.
And could you tell our listeners a little bit more about this chi then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Yin is based on Chinese meridian theory. It is based on that, and the qi, it's all around us. It's in our bodies, and it can be a couple of things. You've heard of acupuncture, acupressure. Yeah. So you would go and see your acupuncturist if you're not feeling well, or something's perhaps wrong in the body, or just to maintain yourself. To look after yourself, and we are trying to, yin can, yin, qi can be a couple of things. It can be a bit deficient. So deficient is, if an area of your body's not feeling great. I'll give an example. For me, my shoulder right now is not great. So I'll go and see the acupuncturist, and then they will help to encourage that healthy flow of qi within that area of my body, to encourage the healing and that sense of well-being within. Or it can be a little bit stagnant, when it's not quite moving in the way it should be. So in an acupuncture or an acupressure or in a yin class, we're encouraging that healthy flow of qi within the body into the meridian channels themselves.
Okay, so you're talking about the energy in the meridian channels.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm thinking, with the qi, with the energy, where is the energy coming from?
It's all around us. Qi is all around us, and it's in our bodies, and it's in our meridian channel. So when we go into the muscles, we then go into the connective tissues, and then it's in those connective tissues that we have those meridian channels where we are encouraging that flow, that healthy flow of qi into our meridians. Michelle, you can tell energy is all around us. And sometimes when this was a big thing for me, and I actually read it in Sarah Power's book. When you meet someone, I don't know about you, but you just know if you connect or you don't connect. I can tell, don't get me wrong, I can't tell you about people's lives. I can't read things or anything like that. But I know I'm big on energy, and that's one thing that brought me to Yin is I know straight away if I'm going to connect with someone or not. It's just, when you bump or you flow, you know what I mean? It's a bit like that. That's the best way to describe it.
Well, it's powerful stuff, and I'm thinking actually, perhaps even I felt this with you.
Yeah,
as well. I can feel that energy.
It's a flow. I can connect with you. I can tell. You've got a good energy. I know you have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah. So if we think about then, who would you recommend it would be good for somebody to come and access Yin Yoga?
Yeah, I think all yoga is for everybody. It's an everybody practice, and every pose can be we can offer variations for every pose for everyone. So it's an everybody practice. Yin is especially an everybody practice because it's a practice that honors, our unique body shapes, skeletal variations and tissues that are all organized in this way that is uniquely ours. So, the way that we come into a posture and the way that we feel in a posture is going to be different for us all. And the best way for someone to realize that is, when we're all sitting down waiting to be in a class, if you look around the class, not everyone's sitting in the same way because it doesn't feel comfortable for everyone to sit in the same way. So when we come into a posture, there's always variations offered to the student to feel it both muscularly and skeletally in those target areas.
Yes, so it feels really accessible to everybody at any level.
Yeah, it is. It's for everybody. And like I say, those variations can be offered to everyone for that practice, in order to feel it.
Yeah, thank you. And I know then, so you run your classes, group classes, but is this something people can access on a one-to-one basis as well?
Yeah, it is definitely. I do private one-to-one tuition. I did one of those this morning, or just in a general, class for everybody. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lovely. And what would you say then? So, have you got any stories of what you've seen of how it's helped people?
I would say I've seen transformations in yoga anyway. For instance, often people can lead this sedentary life where we're sitting down, and the front chains of the body are quite tight. We spend about 80 to 90% of the day in flexion. When someone new arrives to my class, they can't grab their foot because they've got tight hip flexors, tight quadricep muscles. They can't grab. I've seen them go from no grab to grabbing to heel coming into buttock. It happens, you know, slow progress. It happens. And I've seen those transformations. I hear of those transformations after the practice through the way that people feel afterwards. You know, they share the way that they feel with me and those benefits of the practice.
Which actually brings me to, so I know that certain poses will be really beneficial to perhaps how we're emotionally feeling. So if I give you a couple of examples. So I noticed in one yoga class, I did a pose where you're twisting round, and I actually felt like I was wringing anger out of my body. You know, when you get a flannel and you can like twist it to get the water out. And so how does that work with the emotions that are stored in the body?
I think it's just this release. I mean, often we can have that release emotionally like you had. Sometimes people come along and there's a little tear or something comes out of their eyes, and it's just this release. It's this reconnection to yourself. It's your systems balancing back out, and then that release perhaps happens in the way that you had it or in the way that someone else had. I've had it myself before. You know, I've gone to class and a few tears have come out my eyes, and it's just that release. It's restoring this equilibrium back into the body, back into the systems. And then sometimes we have that release. It just comes out.
Yeah. I'm thinking as well, actually. So when my oldest son was really poorly, I can remember that going to a yoga class, and I hadn't accessed yoga for quite a while. It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes we forget these things that really work. And it was when I was laying.
Get busy, Michelle, as well. We get occupied, or things happen to us in life, and we have to go with what we're occupied with at that time, and then we come back to those things at other times as well.
Yeah, definitely. We can tap in and tap out. And
Yeah.
I felt that when I laid there on the mat, and I think it's just how you're describing that, as I laid there and perhaps had some quiet time in my mind, that's when I was able to access perhaps the sadness that I'd been really so busily trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, if somebody's really busy all the time, and it's a way of them coping, you can see the absolute horror on their face if you talk about going to yoga, because it's a time when for them, it feels so alien to them that they're slowing down. They've got time for their mind to actually catch up with them.
Michelle, you're just making me laugh because I see it all the time. And I think just for one, well, I just want to touch on what you just said. Like, you went to the mat and that was your contemplative space. You came back into yourself, you slowed down, and you allowed yourself to feel the way you felt. And that's, you know, and we have to allow that in ourselves. We can't all go around ignoring things. You know, we have to allow ourselves to have time to contemplate on what's happening or the way that we feel in ourselves. You know, that's so important, and maybe that's, you know, what happened at that time. But you're making me laugh because I have I teach slow vinyasa, right? It's a flow. That's, you know, a lot of my classes are slow vinyasa, and of course I teach Yin Yoga. I've been to classes over the years, and it's vinyasa, and it's so fast. You ain't got time getting in and out of things. And, you know, that's great for people. Wonderful. That's what you want to do. I'm a bit more slower, so we have time to get in and out of the postures to really get a feel for what we're meant to be doing rather than rushing in and out of everything. You know, for me, there's no point in that. And I had one student came to me and she says, you know what, I just need something faster. This is not for me. And I just thought in my mind, I'm like, you're fast. I know she's fast. Everything was fast and alive. And I just thought, you want that fast. Of course you want it, but really I didn't say it, but you really needed to have a bit more of a slow down, because if we carry on all this fastness in life, yang, 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 you're going to get burnt out. Eventually you're going to burn out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder, can I ask you, what do you
Yeah.
think held you back from telling her that? Why do you feel you need something faster, or did you feel it wasn't your place at that time?
Yeah, no, I never, like, I would never, I wouldn't suggest that to someone. I think for me, I don't feel like it would be my place. It's for them to realize in their own time, in their journey. Like, yeah, I wouldn't, never,
No, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I can really hear, that it's this being able to connect with yourself, to be able to turn inwards, to be able to it gives us an opportunity, I think, in a safe space to release emotions because
Yeah,
again, we're taught how to think, and a lot of us that we're not taught how to feel, are we? And I think that's why it's so important because things are stored in the body.
yeah.
So I have a friend, she'll be really pleased I'm asking you this question. In Yin Yoga, she really likes the saddle pose. You know, where you have the bolster and you're leaning
You like
back. I think,
leans back? Is it the one she leans back? Yeah,
yeah, with the hips. And I wonder, so again, because perhaps where things are hip opening. So again, how does it work with the muscles and the
yeah.
moves and
The hips, they say that the hips hold of a lot of emotion, a lot of emotion. But
yeah,
how does saddle pose work? I mean, great that she can do that. A lot of people can't do that pose. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. So
I can't.
no, I can't. I can't. I don't like. My knees don't like it. They say, Gavin, stop doing this. So I don't do it. I do other things instead to get to feel it in those target areas. So really, in saddle pose, you're working on the hip flexor muscles. You're working on the quadricep muscles, and we're finding some tension in those areas to explore. And then if we go a bit to skeletally, it's the lower back because it's going into extension. So there's a bit of compression with the vertebra. The spinal processes start to touch and you start to feel compression. And then we're stimulating that flow of chi in those areas of the body.
Wow. So look at that as well as what it's doing to our spine and our vertebrae and our hips. It's
Yeah.
actually incredible, isn't it?
It's a really powerful, deep, beautiful practice. It really is. It really is.
Yeah. Another one that I really like, which I think is quite an interesting thing to hear, is I noticed that I can't remember the name of the position, but where you'll come up onto your back and it's really heart opening. So my oldest son had physically left this world and he died. That
Oh,
I recognized that actually laying there on the yoga mat and doing these positions where you're opening your heart up, and it was
yeah.
one of the safest spaces that I felt I could actually try to connect with my grief.
Yeah.
And so go on.
No, no, I was going to say you felt safe to release and perhaps be a little bit vulnerable in that release.
Yes, that is exactly it.
Yeah.
Whereas before it felt so, I've got to keep it all together and
I think
keep
it's fish pose.
contained.
It's just come to me, fish pose. I think it's
It
fish.
is fish
Yeah.
pose.
Because I've not
Yeah,
taught for a long time, so that's why. But it's fish pose, I'm sure. Hands underneath, lifting the chest up and placing the head on the floor.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to get in some of the moves for people so they can really understand, what the link between our mind, between our body, and, exactly the science of what's happening. And
Yeah.
I know that you said, it can be good for anybody.
Yeah.
And you've witnessed people being able to become a lot more flexible. I've witnessed emotionally that, there's been so many benefits. And I know you said at the beginning, you said it had saved you. What did you feel it saved you with?
It saved me from coming out of a 10-year relationship, being sad, to knowing that life goes on. Life is going to be fine. We are going
Yeah,
to be fine. And it made me feel good mentally and physically in my body to get on with my life. It really did. And I have that person, like I'm always grateful for that person. Like he's a lovely person. And I always wish him well, but I always have that to thank for him because really he doesn't know that, but that's probably the reason I'm a yoga teacher because of that, what happened to me, so I'm always grateful for that. Like I say, he's a nice person, always wish him well, wish everyone well.
yeah, that's actually really powerful, isn't it? How, things that happen in our life then send us onto that path.
Yeah, like definitely, yeah, for sure. Like I was at a collaboration on Friday night, and I was talking about retreat, doing like a retreat. And I spoke to one of my students that come along, and we just got chatting, and her teacher had just gone away. And I was talking about, she said, "Oh, I would do retreat. I like to do a retreat." So, and I said, "Oh, I want to do retreat. I'm just trying to find location, And she goes, "In that location where I was." And then the lady that I was collaborating with, the sound bath teacher, she'd just that afternoon been to that location. So
Wow.
it was synchronicity, like everything came together. Sometimes it all comes together, and it was just like, it's meant to be. Like sometimes it's meant to be, or things happen for a reason. I think things happen
Well,
for.
I truly believe that. I call it where the
Oh,
universe aligns. I believe in
yeah,
synchronicity.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to we have to take things. Things sometimes happen. I think if we can take something from that and learn from that and try and move forward with that, I think that's a good thing if we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So what would you say, if a person's not tried yin yoga before, what would you tell them to expect?
I would expect, I tell them to expect to come into the room, to slow down. They're going to slow down, and they're going to find this. They're going to reconnect a little bit to themselves. It's a practice that encourages this slowing down and this reconnection back to themselves. And expect to do not what everyone else is doing. Expect to, if that person next to you is doing a different shape, it's because they're feeling it in their body in a different way to what you're going to feel it in that target area. So expect to not be looking like everyone else in the class in the same position. Expect to take that version that feels right for them.
Hey, I think that's lovely. I think
And
that really lowers. Go on.
no, I was going to say, what's really a nice thing is to say to people as well, chi, that energy, that flow of energy, often isn't something that we connect to straight away. After we've done a yin pose or a few yin poses, we come into what we call a rebound pose, where we get to feel for the movement of chi within the body as a result of focusing on the poses on those target areas. And often for some, it can be like this sense of vibration. It could be warm and cold, or could be tingling. I know for me, it's always these very gentle little pins and needles that I feel. But sometimes that takes time to connect to that flow of chi. Sometimes you can come and it's just like boom, and you're feeling that flow. And then others, it just takes a little bit of time to really connect to that flow of chi within the body.
Hey, I could just listen to you. Yeah, it sounds absolutely lovely.
It's a wonderful.
Yeah. I was thinking as well,
Yeah,
how diverse would you say the classes are of the people that are coming and attending your classes?
diverse. I'd say about 85 to 90% is ladies, and then the other like 10 or 15% is men coming to the classes. Yeah.
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 And this is like when I deliver mental health training, I think it's really important for more men to come forward. And I'm being very
Yeah.
gender specific here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But, to get people to come along and to see actually, what it can do and how it
Yeah.
can help them in
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
minds.
Because we see that, don't we? Like in everyday life, men feel like they need to keep things in, or they need to be strong, or whatever. And it's nice to see that change. Like we're in this wonderful time of change right now. So much has happened within the last so many years in all things. And it's quite an exciting time, this change as well. If we go with it, it is very exciting. I know there's lots of other things going on in the world, but in these
Yeah.
changes, there's some wonderful things happening. And just for someone to go on Instagram and talk about something that's happened to them, or the way that they feel, or like do podcasts and things like that, it's nice because people know them and they're not alone. It's okay to feel the way they feel, and it's okay to be going through what they feel. And it's help for people as well. It's offering that help to people. It's just helpful.
But I think to see, you're talking about 85% is women.
Yeah.
We really want to build that up more, don't we? So that it's more diversity is coming through with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's happening slowly in time. People are realizing, or guys are realizing, the benefits of yoga too, as well as ladies. And I have a lot of ladies as well, bring their husbands along with them as well at the same time, and sometimes it's nice when a guy comes, the other guys in the class as well, because it encourages them perhaps a little bit, I don't know. But it is slowly happening that little bit more as we journey into these new changes in all of the different things in life, it's happening.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're going to have a retreat then. Is that this year or?
Oh my God, Michelle, I'm so excited. Michelle, firstly, I'm loving our chat together today. It is so wonderful to connect. It really is. And I don't know about you, Michelle, but I get up in the morning and I am so excited for my day. I feel so grateful when I get up in the morning. Sometimes because I know what's happening the next day, I'm so excited I can't sleep. Yeah, I'm just doing this. I can't sleep sometimes. I get so excited about life and the possibilities that are out there. And I'm so grateful and I'm so lucky to be able to share this wonderful world of wellness with people and help them on their journey of well-being. I feel so grateful and so lucky to be able to do that. And I get up and I'm lucky to do something that I love, at the same time, but retreat definitely is coming up. I think it's going to be September time, somewhere in Leicestershire. So I'm excited about that. We're going to do a half-day retreat, and there's going to be something exciting happening in that retreat as well. So yeah, really excited about that. And like you came to one of my collaborations. I do lots and lots of collaborations. I probably do about 4 or 5 collaborations a month with different teachers to give these offerings of like self-care and wellness. It's so important for people. If they don't come to me regularly as a student, they have this opportunity to come to me perhaps once a month to experience yoga and a sound bath or Reiki healing as the yoga goes on. These are all moments or opportunities of self-care.
Hey, so I want to thank you so much for your time.
I
think it's been really interesting. I've really enjoyed talking with you and learning more about how it works. So thank you, Gavin. And I will see you at a retreat, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for asking me again. And see you in retreat, hopefully, or another collaboration.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.